Coming to you live from the heart of the free state of New Hampshire, this is The Independents with Carla Gericke. And now, here's your host, Carla Gericke.
Hey guys, and welcome to The Independents. Thank you for joining me today. As you guys can see, I have my co-host Dominic here with me.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great to be back. I'm doing really well.
Great. Thanks for joining us. I feel like with that new intro, like I want to do a little shimmy before we get started.
It was very jazzy. I liked it, yeah. Very different feel than the old one.
Yeah, trying new things, you know how it goes. But one of the regular things we're going to be doing here on the show is having Dominic on, sometimes Mark Warden, sometimes Matthew Ping. We are all together working at either Porcupine Real Estate or at Ledgeview Commercial. Ledgeview is technically our broker, blah, blah, blah. And the reason I want to bring you guys on here is to help people understand better what is constantly happening in the New Hampshire real estate market, because, of course, this is going out on various platforms, but also to our brethren here in Manchester. And, folks should know what's happening in their backyards and what's up. So we are going to take a deep dive, as we usually do, into what's happening in the real estate market.
And the New Hampshire market is very different than the rest of the country as well. So it's a unique market. Just to kind of dive into some stats here, the national home sales virtually stayed the same from last month to this month. Whereas in New Hampshire, we are still actually up over last year. So single-family homes are up almost 12% over last year. And condos are up 10% over last year, whereas the national average is only 0.2%.
And, there are various reasons for that. Some of it is, of course, that we have a housing shortage, right? Everyone is talking about this, 90,000 units too little for the state's needs and all of that. What might be other things that just make New Hampshire attractive? And you're allowed to say the Free State Project.
There's a variety of different things. I think the biggest one is it's a very desirable state to be in. Especially up in the New England area. New Hampshire has so many benefits that other states don't. No sales tax, no income tax. The price of homes is relatively high comparatively. Like if you look at homes in Vermont or in Maine, they typically are a little bit less expensive, but you don't have those benefits of the no sales tax, no income tax.
And that's a big deal. And of course, now it's no sales tax, no income tax, also no interest and dividends tax starting in 2026. And then just also really awesome place to live, right? New Hampshire often and frequently and most often shows up as a best quality of life, best place to live. There was a recent study that came out that actually said it is the best place in the United States to raise a family. So, it's that quality of living thing. And I'm going to put out a plug for the Four Seasons, too, to be honest.
I completely agree with that. I think it is, unlike Vermont especially, we have, you're literally never a half hour from something, whether it be the coast or the mountains or, a hike in the woods or any city or whatever it could be. Like you're a half hour to 45 minutes away from basically everything.
So one of the games I like to play with myself is, imagine if New Hampshire was its own country, right? We're not calling this the Independents for nothing, folks. But imagine New Hampshire was its own country, right? And I love that idea because it sort of gives you a flavor of you could probably find almost everything you wanted here, right?
I would agree with that.
I was thinking, it might be a fun game, and maybe we'll make this a game for the new year or something where you could put like stuff in a hat and pull it out and be like, oh, could we find this here, right? Everything from, let's say, a zip lining experience, right? Which you could, of course, skiing, we have the winter sports, we have the summer sports, there's ice skating in winter, but there's skiing, water skiing in summer, all of those kinds of things. So I was thinking maybe we'll make that a challenge and we ask folks back home, maybe you can send us suggestions and be like, see if you can find this.
I remember when I first moved here, because I came from Western New York, I saw scuba shops, and I'm like, why would there be scuba shops up here? And I forgot, like, the coast is right there, so people literally go scuba diving. I mean, it's not as popular as it is down in Florida Keys or something like that, but it's still an option.
Well, it's an option, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I read about a scuba dive in I think it was Lake Winnipesaukee, but it was one of the lakes that actually had sunken boats at the bottom, and so it's a scuba experience.
That's really interesting.
Right, to go do it. So again, back to that sort of idea of if we were our own little country, we need more nuclear power to make that a reality. But, you could find all these wonderful things. So really the ultimate plug is New Hampshire as a destination is very attractive. And I think we're still reasonably priced for what it has to offer. So let's talk about those prices.
Yeah. So again, we're looking at the median sales prices. This doesn't take into account where you are in the state because that definitely factors in quite a bit. But the single family homes, our average price right now is $535,000. And I remember, again, coming from Western New York, I never thought I would live in a house that was anywhere near that price. Those were the mansions when I was growing up, But that is like your standard 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house is $535,000. And the days on market right now is hovering right around that 28 days.
Okay. And so that has actually extended a little bit.
That's where it was last month, and it's up from last year, definitely.
Okay.
But in general, this year it stayed about that 28 to 30 days.
And so that also still means, I definitely am seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing this too, that we are seeing some movement on pricing. Mm-hmm. It does feel like, I'm seeing better offers on pricing and sort of, in the inbox, it's like, hey, what are the words they use?
Well, price correction or improvements.
Price improvement. That was the one that struck me this week because I thought, oh, that's clever wording, right? But price improvements, so we are seeing this time of year, things start to shift a little bit.
Very much.
What does that look like?
Yeah, we're also seeing not only price corrections or improvements or whatever we want to say, but we're also seeing a lot of incentive for buyers. So point buy downs, I'm seeing a lot more. So they're offering money at closing to help the person's interest rates come down, which opens you up to a whole different category of buyer. Because if you can't afford, a $600,000 house because the interest rate would be too high, if the seller is offering $10,000 in credit to buy down your point, then it puts a whole other category of buyer into that program. So
that is really great to hear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. That's closing cost assistance. I'm seeing a lot more, or credit towards specific projects. So, like if somebody has a house that needs, they want. During a home inspection, they've said that they need new windows or something like that. Sometimes we're seeing things that say like $10,000 credit towards window purchase or something like that.
So really, for folks back home or for a buyer, let's say we'll do this from a buyer perspective. So maybe if you're looking at a $600,000 home, that makes it, as you were saying, makes it available to someone who might not. So how would a buyer go about looking for those opportunities?
A lot of times, like if we set you up a search, if there's a specific keyword that you're looking for, we can include it in your search parameters. I do also, I tend not to do that unless it's something specific like Bitcoin. I've done searches like that before, or crypto or cryptocurrency or something like that. But it also, it filters out way too much, because if somebody's like, I'm open to that, but they don't specifically say that specific keyword, it takes it out.
Oh, okay.
So you got to be careful with that, but that is something that you can do. I also tell people, just because you have a search through us doesn't mean you shouldn't still be looking at the other websites too.
Right.
So it's always, cast the widest net possible, and hopefully you find what you're looking for. So.
And speaking of Bitcoin or crypto, so we have this fabulous house. It is right here in Manchester, folks. It is New Hampshire's first 3D printed home. It is over on the east side, or here on the east side, I should say. I actually went to the open house with Mark last Thursday, so I feel like I got to see it firsthand. It's so fascinating to me. So this one was not actually built on site, and that was primarily because of the location. It's kind of like a weird little lot.
Yeah.
So it's on a corner. I believe the home sellers actually bought the lot because there was a house that had burnt down that was on the property. So they kind of got it for a bit of a steal, and then decided to use the foundation, right? So the imprint that was already there for this 3D printed house. Now, they had to, because it was this weird location, they couldn't actually bring in the arm. So for folks back home, the way to picture this is basically they're printing a house with like an arm or a crane that's pushing out basically like concrete.
Extruded concrete.
Extruded concrete. Think of it as like toothpaste concrete. So it's squeezing out a toothpaste, and then it's making these walls that are basically like rope almost.
The interesting thing to me is, I've seen, especially down south, I see it a lot more, those extruded concrete barriers around people's landscaping. That's what it reminds me of, because it looks like Play-Doh, basically, like a layer upon layer upon layer of concrete.
And do you know if that's the same tech? It must be. Or
I would imagine it's probably pretty similar.
Okay, yeah, because actually at this house, which there may be another open house coming up, I would have to go take a look, but outside where the stairs come into the front door, there are two sort of flower banks where they did it on purpose so that you can kind of see how it's constructed. And I thought that was kind of cool too. We had several people come through the open house. Some were just looky-loos, including people who kind of grew up in the neighborhood or in Manchester. And the wife, they're thinking about downsizing, and so they wanted to come take a look at this property. It is 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms. Definitely on the smaller side, I would say, for the price point too. It's listed for $720, but it is also for sale for Bitcoin.
That's
true.
And the biggest thing too is it's brand new. It is new technology or new to New Hampshire, I should say. But it has been pretty common in other areas of the country. This one, you had a little note here that said you had done a grok search, right?
Yep.
What were you?
Yeah. So this, my show prep, and honestly, given what I know about stuff, I have to say you have to be careful with the LLMs and the Grok, ChatGPT, all of it, right? They're kind of a little bit. But I asked it for the top 10 most interesting things in New Hampshire real estate in 2025. And number 1 was, as you just mentioned, record-breaking medium home prices, right? Which we're seeing, and New Hampshire's prices are remaining fairly steady. But number 2 on the list was the launch of New Hampshire's first 3D printed house. A groundbreaking 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in Manchester just became the state's inaugural 3D printed property, listed for sale and uniquely accepting Bitcoin as payment, showcasing innovative construction and crypto integration in real estate.
That's fantastic.
And of course, we at Porcupine Real Estate are really proud to, even be sort of involved with this, because our firm has been on the cutting edge of this sort of combination of crypto and real estate. And we believe there's a lot of opportunity there in the future as well.
For sure. Yeah, it's a great investment. Again, not official advice for anybody as far as buying crypto or anything, but it's just another way to diversify your holdings. And the way it's been going lately, it seems like it's a pretty solid bet.
So it's interesting because, of course, the market is doing this right now. So I don't necessarily personally follow the prices day by day, but my feed on X specifically will tell you, just because you see people panicking or, it dropped and there was a crypto correction. But, that is what happens with assets. You can go look at silver price or gold price or anything over time, even real estate to some extent, because, of course, real estate prices, to your point, where it's like, wow, homes we used to think about as a $200,000 home are now close to $600,000. Some of that actually is a reflection of monetary policy and the devaluation of the dollar.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of people, especially years ago when we first started in real estate, or at least when I first started in real estate here, a lot of people were like, I'm going to wait till this the market corrects itself, the prices come back down a little bit more to reasonable levels. And the general consensus, like from people in the industry, is like, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Or if it does, everything is going to crash, and then we're in really bad shape, So like, I know specifically in my town of Epping, my assessment just came back, and my assessment almost went up by $200,000.
Wow.
So, but they corrected the tax rates and made things. It's reasonable, very reasonable. I'm not unhappy by any means. But there was a time there when my assessment was literally half of what my sale price would be if I was to sell my house right now. And I'm like, this has to go someplace. Like that's not sustainable. So.
Yeah, and so for folks who maybe don't understand the New Hampshire market, basically in towns, how it works is you assess your house, and we have, we don't have, as we said at the start of the show, sales tax, income tax, interest and dividends tax, but we do have property taxes because you do have to pay for government somehow. I'd love to see the transition ultimately occur to pure vice and use taxes, right? Like that, I think that is the fairest way to fund the government. But at your assessment price and then your sale price, over time they come in, they assess your property, and then it's a rate against that number. And so you've got to kind of watch that. And of course, we just had city elections yesterday, and actually for folks who are following for that, Jay Ruas here in Manchester did win his race against Jess Spiller. It looked like, all those sort of usual suspects got in. I saw Chrissy Cantor got in for Ward 6. I believe Joe Kelly is back in, Will Infantine. And then I'll bring a full report next week because that isn't necessarily real estate related. But moving on then from the 3D printed home, and you're right. I mean, it is important to note this is brand new.
Yeah.
Not only the tech, but it's got that new car smell. It's got that new home smell. Like you could literally, I have to say, one of the people who came to look had young-ish children. And they were very excited to be there, but the little girl was like running with her hand, around the walls. Ooh, yeah. And I kept thinking, I was like, oh, this is so pristine. Don't let her hands be dirty, but they weren't. I double checked and it was all good. But as we, sort of look at the landscape, so now things start to slow down, which does fit with that four-season vibe, right? For many of us, and for me at least, I love this time of year. You kind of get to slow down a little bit from that heavy market. But in terms of real estate, what does that look like for us?
Sure. This time of year, we see, again, more days on market, so the market tends to slow down a bit. There are less new listings coming up, so potentially for buyers, there's less options out there, but there's also less competition. So I think this is actually one of the best times of year to buy a house because you can definitely find some good deals out there. I found one of my best deals on a 4-unit during the winter months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ridiculously low price. So like that's like that diamond in the rough that you got to keep out there and looking for it.
And certainly for people who are coming from out of state, you know, if you have the freedom, I guess is a good word, to buy any time of year, I agree. This is a great time. First of all, you're not showing up to open houses with 30 other people, right? Not everyone wants to go do the long slog through the snow. I've done open houses or, you know, showings up in the North Country where it was like 15 degrees Fahrenheit and we had, you know, the high boots on because, you know, we were going to walk the property kind of thing.
And so, yeah, you're not crowded in with people, but you also have time to think about it. Like when those peak summer months or spring months when everybody's looking to buy houses, that's honestly one of the worst times to buy a house because you have to make that decision right away. You really like, by the time you leave that house, you have to know if you want to even explore the option of putting in an offer.
Right, so that pressure, right? And some people don't do well in that, or you create this dynamic where you feel pressurized and you're putting in offer after offer and you're not getting it, and then maybe you get a little discouraged. So if you're that kind of buyer or that kind of person who's been looking, this might be the right time of year to take a little bit more of a slow roll, to give yourself more options, and to give yourself more time to buy and to decide.
And another kind of point on that is I think a lot of people get scared away from New Hampshire because of the rough winters, quote unquote. Coming to visit in the winter and actually seeing what a winter is here is probably a good idea if you haven't been here before, because you know if this is too rough for you, maybe it isn't for you, because honestly I don't think the winters here are very tough at all comparatively.
No, and actually, I mean, I was very scared of the winters when I moved here as an African, you know, and I agree. I mean, they even seem, I don't know if I've gotten more used to them or if they've become slightly milder as, you know, maybe microclimates and climates change. But yeah, it's worth coming in the winter. And, you know, places like Hampton and some of these seasonal sea-coasty or lakes regions, because of course a lot of people own second properties in New Hampshire, and so there's also this soft rental market that sort of opens up or blooms. And so if you're from out of state and you're looking for maybe a halfway house attempt, right, can come rent.
I know several folks who own like hotel kind of setups in Hampton Beach. And during the winter months, you can rent a hotel room for like pennies on the dollar.
Oh,
basically.
really?
Oh,
Even
yeah.
in motels and hotels as well. And then, of course, apartments as well.
Yep.
And I don't know if you saw this, but they're talking about tearing down the Hampton Ballroom.
I did see this, yeah.
And putting up like a massive casino. And I was at two minds because I guess the next planning meeting is tonight. But I thought, so they're saying like 99 high-end condos, and I was like, oh, maybe we start to sell some of those. But also like 290, I think, or 300 rooms, and then the casino itself. And I thought, you know, I would kind of like that because we could start to do bigger conferences here, right? Because, you know, like I talked to Freedom Fest, for example, who do their event in Las Vegas typically, and then they take it on the road every other year. And they were like, well, there's really nowhere in New Hampshire we could do it, so they would have to do it in Boston, which seems like an insult to New Hampshire. And I thought, okay, you know, this might be 5 years down the line, but it might be cool to see something as an anchor in that area that just kind of takes it from.
And that's only what, an hour from Boston anyway? So that's
yeah,
not too far at all.
It's close. Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to say like Hampton is, you know, a seedy boardwalk, but you know, it's got a little long on the tooth vibes for parts of it. So
I think if you're going to that area, you're expecting that, and that's part of the charm of it.
It's like Coney Island, but
yeah.
worse. But actually, I think it's a little better. But yeah, that would be something to look out for. What else, like in terms of the seasonal slowdown? It's a good time.
We have to, as real estate agents, we have to keep up on our trainings. So this is a great time for us to look at getting our licenses renewed. keeping up on trainings. So I know that there's a great VA class being taught by one of the lenders that we use a lot. Next week on Thursday, I was going to ask you if you wanted to come with me. But it's a great class. I learned a ton from it, so I'm planning on doing that one. I actually just got my license renewed. I just filed all the paperwork yesterday.
Okay, I had to do that at the start of the year.
And then, there's a lot of other options that we have too. This time of year, I get ready to start looking at more public outreach things. I know you're way busier in our community than I definitely am. But when I start to slow down here, this is when I'm like, okay, it's Monday. Let me take a look at the calendar and see what's out there and see if there's an event or two that I can go talk to some people and that kind of thing.
And network. I mean, a huge part of our jobs really is kind of your network, who you know, who knows of someone, oh, this person's looking, oh, this and that and whatever. So if you're watching this back home and you want to get in on stuff, give us a ring-a-ding-ding. What else do you have on your list? Did we cover everything?
Let me see. Oh, and then just my personal stuff, getting ready for winter. So, making sure the chickens are all squared away for the winter months. And
why do they lose their feathers this time of year? My poor chickens are so bedraggled
really? Mine look
right
great,
now.
But mine are babies too. This is the first year, so.
So mine molts this time of year,
Really?
and I assume it's normal because that happened previously, but I was like, this is so sad.
It is kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, it feels like it shouldn't. It feels like it should have happened in September, not heading into November. Right now, it's actually getting cold, and they look miserable.
I guess I think about my dogs too, and this is when they grow their next coat.
Yep.
So you see them all.
Trust
fluffy
me,
and
I've been
stuff.
vacuuming. I know. So I think for folks back home, really, the news is, there are opportunities out there, as there always are. There's incredible upside, I still think, in New Hampshire, and I believe it'll be that way long term. I mean, we really are looking at the future. I'm so excited. You see someone like Kelly Ayotte and the Republicans talk about nuclear. You look at the food freedom people, they're all talking about 30% of New Hampshire's produce should be grown here by 2030, which I thought was kind of exciting. We do need greenhouses for that, right? We need places that make energy cheaper. But what's your pitch to folks back home?
Well, I'll just say this is only the second place that I've ever lived as far as location-wise. I've lived in a bunch of different towns, but New Hampshire is the only second place that I've lived. And I can't imagine living anywhere else. I've done a lot of traveling, and I think this offers the most to people as far as conveniences, cost of living. I think overall is very reasonable. Everybody is incredibly friendly. You can just sit down and talk to people, and I think that's fantastic, especially in New England, because they can be a little standoffish. But yeah, and then as far as real estate goes, do not be afraid of that initial price, because overall, if you can get your foot in the door, I feel like it's a great investment for you.
That sounds like great advice. How can folks get a hold of you?
You can reach me at porcupinerealestate.com. My email address is dominic@porcupinerealestate.com.
Thank you so much. And you can reach me at carla@porcupinerealestate.com as well. You can go to the website. We're always happy to help people have the conversation, set up a cart, help you understand the market better, and then help bring you home. So
we have a new website launching relatively soon.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it should be exciting.
So thanks for joining us. I will be back again next week. And this was Carla and Dominic with The Independents.